Now it's time for a big conversation for the morning. It's time for big issue. This morning, we are still talking about the Nkunim budget, the budget which was presented on the floor of Parliament 2 days ago by the Finance Minister in accordance with the 1992 Constitution. Following the reading of the budget, there have been many comments. While some are very happy about the 8 reliefs which were introduced or some continued, others have concerns, especially the minority have been talking. Soon after the budget was read, we had a conversation between Atu Forson and Alfred Okanse here at TV3. He questioned the Finance Minister's failure or inability to disclose the actual tax percentages that he mentioned in the budget. Also, calls have been made for the actual budget to be presented to members of the House, since the budget statement, which is read on the floor of Parliament, is, if you like, a summary of the actual budget statement. And so members of the House are asking why the actual statement has not been presented to them. Also, some calls have been made by CESOs. They've made some comments about some of the expectations of the government regarding our GDP and inflation going into 2024. Also, the government have earmarked, according to the budget, some 220 million Ghana cedis for relief support for our brothers and sisters who were so badly affected by the Akosombo Dam spillage. The minority say that this amount that has been earmarked is woefully inadequate, and they need, or they would like to hear more about this. Actual figures should be put to what is going to be used for what. And this money, however, will not do much. That's what they say. This morning, on the show, my guests are here, and our specific topic is fallout from the Nkunim budget. Minority questions expenditure, and CSOs demand details of new taxes after the budget was read. I am pleased to be joined by a very good friend of mine, Alhassan Suini, Member of Parliament of Tamale North. Alhassan, it's great to have you.
A pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you have taken this to another level.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I'm glad you're here. Also in the house, we have Dr. Abdul Kabiru, Technical Advisor to the Vice President. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You're wearing white today.
Yeah, today I'm surprised my brother is not wearing white. Because today is Friday and today is also Nkunim by victory. So
it's Nkunim Day.
Yeah,
so you're celebrating.
So I'm celebrating.
I see.
But more importantly, it's a Friday, and you see us appear in this way usually on Friday. Why the better?
The whiter, the better.
Yeah. I
like that. We're also launching our all-white party, so you are dressed just right for the day. Also, the birthday boy is here, Lawyer Kwame Jantoa, Chairman of the CPP. Now,
Political Affairs Committee.
Political Affairs Committee. Yesterday was your birthday.
Oh, yes.
But we couldn't celebrate because we had a big funeral.
Yes, we did.
Well, happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you. When you were, good morning to our viewers, when you were giving me a shout-out, I could see in your eyes, how old is the guy? How old is the guy?
Yes, how old is the guy? You know, you're right, you're a prophet. You can see right through my eyes.
Yeah. I'm 66.
You are 66?
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Wow.
66.
You do not look 66.
I was born premature.
I'm not
6
sure.
months premature.
66?
Yeah, I'm 66.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, you
God
look really well.
God is good.
What's the secret?
Nothing. Just be myself. Don't stress.
Don't stress.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
No.
Is it possible not to worry in this economy?
It is. It is.
What?
It is.
Don't worry,
Just
don't
take
stress.
things in your stride. If you can do it, you can do it. If you can't do it, no force. I'm not in competition with anybody. What I can do, I'll do. Eat well, drink water.
And mind your own business.
And God.
And God.
Make sure that your God is with you. Very important.
Well, that's good advice. So
because you see, in the end, we all go 6 foot.
Now, that's a scary conclusion.
It's not scary. It's the only reality in life.
Yeah.
Apart from taxes. Yeah, so
okay. Apart from taxes.
Yes. So take things in your stride.
All right. Well,
but I thank God.
Yes.
Thank God.
We thank God with you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
66. On your 70th in 4 years, we shall throw a big party in the studio for you. All right, gentlemen, you're welcome to the show. So we listened to the Finance Minister on Wednesday as he presented the Nkunim budget, is what you have called it. while some would not agree and have asked what Nkunim budget means. Does it mean that the budget is victorious or the budget is going to introduce us to some victory in 2024? I'm sure you can give us further insights into that when we get there. But Alassane, let me start from you. The minority have been speaking about their concerns since the budget was read. There were some 8 reliefs which were provided, which I believe Ghanaians should be happy about. Calls on the scrapping of taxes on sanitary pads is something that a lot of us have been singing for a long time now. We've seen some relief there. And we've also heard about some 220 million which has been earmarked for our brothers and sisters who have been affected by the dam spillage. Yeah. However, the commentary from minorities so far suggests that things are not well.
Well, let me say good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. And because of how my brother concluded when he gave the reason for wearing white, I'm happy I'm not wearing white today. But that's just by the way. Nkunim budget indeed. And, you know, sometimes that is what I'm sure many people find very offensive about this government. After the abysmal performance that has led to the economic hardship, unprecedented, that we are all dealing with, their every action seems to be focused on winning an election and not solving the problems that they have created for all of us through their abysmal performance. So for them, it is about the next election and not about saving the businesses that are going down, giving hope to the young men and women who do not know where and when they can get a job. It's not about, you know, dealing with the prices of ordinary goods that we need for our survival. It's about Nkunim. It's about victory. It's about breaking the 8. That is the focus. It's a political party that was just formed to compete and win elections. But when it comes to really delivering to the betterment of the people, they are found wandering. Look, they are found wanting. Look, the vice president always came to the Parliament House with the finance minister to present the budget. He always accompanied him. He always associated with the presentation of the budget statement. But clearly you can see that his handlers are making every effort to rebrand and repackage him for the next election. So if this was a budget that inspired hope, don't you think he would have, as usual, associated with it and come with the finance minister to sit and nod in approval?
It's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement, but he has imposed it upon himself over the years. He's always come with him. He's always associated with it. He's always given us that indication that he, together with the finance minister, he as chairman of the economic management committee, together with the finance minister, are in charge of things. And so even we already know that the chairman of the economic management team will have an input in the budget preparation.
Yes.
But he's gone beyond what we already know to show to us by appearing in Parliament that he is involved. If this was a budget that was to inspire hope, he wouldn't have been missing. That's one. 2, the majority leader. Since I've known him, since he became a leader in that house, either in minority or majority, this was the first time that after the finance minister presented the budget, he declined to comment. And you know why? He's hopeful that he will be considered as running mate. He's from Ashanti region, after all.
And so you think that the minority
So
leader
the attempt to
and the vice
repackage and
president
rebrand, yes,
are not associating with the budget?
because they are repackaging and rebranding themselves.
And this is not something
to
they should be proud of.
To hoodwink, exactly. And I'm telling you, if it was an inspiring budget, if it was a budget that gave hope, if they believe that this was how we're going to resolve the challenges and the crises that we are faced with as a result of their bad performance, they would have associated with it. For the first time, the majority leader declined to comment. The deputy majority leader had to, do that on behalf of the majority. That is unprecedented. And for me, that is evidence that this was not a budget that inspired any hope. This was not a budget that can give any victory to anybody except one who is deluding himself or herself.
What are your actual problems with this budget?
There are many. There are many. First of all, you spoke about the extensions that they have given to exemptions. And they want us to applaud. I'm already enjoying an exemption. But as a result of that exemption, my business is collapsing. As a result of that exemption, I'm losing investments.
Which exemption are you talking about?
There are many of them. I'm talking about 3 exemptions that they extended.
African print.
Yes.
Electronic vehicles.
Electronic vehicles. Those exemptions. So I'm just giving you those exemptions.
Okay.
I'm saying that in general, people already in that sector are complaining that despite these exemptions, they are struggling because of how you have mismanaged the economy. So you come and announce an extension of that exemption. How is that a solution to the problem that they are currently undergoing? What they have complained about in some of their outings, they have complained about the growth and sustainability levy. They have complained about COVID-19. They have complained about the imports duties. They have complained about the flat rate VAT at the ports. Many other taxes they have complained about. And they have said that these are some of the things, if you do something about, we will be able to recover. You have done nothing about that. You have only come to extend exemptions that they are already enjoying. Exemptions that are not helping them address the current problems that they find themselves in. And then you talk about the sanitary pads.
Yes.
Look, as a minority, we are already behind the Member of Parliament for Medina, Honorable Sosu, who is pushing through a private member's bill for us to have a holistic look at the taxes and duties that are imposed on sanitary pads. If you have the finance minister come to announce that they are taking their zero rating, what do you call it?
On locally produced sanitary
On locally
pads.
produced sanitary pads. The question you have to ask yourself is, when will the ordinary Ghanaian, especially young women, begin to experience the impact of this? How many local industries produce sanitary pads?
Not many. But the reason was because the cost of importing the raw material for the production of sanitary pads was too high.
Yeah.
So now that some exemptions have been made, the cost of importing these raw materials will come down.
I agree.
And so they can produce more.
I agree. I'm saying that compare what was announced to what we, the minority, have been pushing through SOSU. And tell me which one solves the problem now and which one solves the problem holistically. Because even if you are someone who is not currently using a locally produced sanitary pad, it's going to take time. One, for the local manufacturers to be able to, produce to meet the market demand. That's one. Two, it's going to take time for you to also even change your taste to a locally, produced sanitary pad. Now, if we had pushed for everything to be removed, locally manufactured or imported, or at least for it to be managed in such a way that the price of those that are imported are also within a certain, framework, it would have gone a long way to impact people who use it more. But this announcement for me is just a political response to the movement, and is not dealing with the actual problem that the young women are faced with when it comes to the purchasing power to have sanitary pads. And so many of the things there that are highlighted as positives. When you thoroughly examine them, you get to realize that, I mean, is that what we really deserve at this time? Look at the allocation to the Kosombo Dam spillage victims.
220 million Ghana.
First of all, this is a man-made disaster, let's not forget, and we could have handled it much, much better. Secondly, how long has it taken government to make this allocation? How long? How many lives and livelihoods may have already been destroyed beyond, recovery? When is this money going to be made available? How is it going to be utilized? But guess what? Whilst at this, you have private media houses, such as, if you pardon me, City FM and City TV. Look at the amount of money they have raised within this period.
And TV3.
Well, I haven't followed that much, forgive me. And the support that they have given to people. Mm-hmm. And our government all along was sleeping. All along
they formed
was sleeping.
an inter-ministerial committee.
Really? To do what?
To look
drink tea?
No, to look into the problem and see how to solve it.
Whilst they were meeting to look into the problem, people were dying. And that is why people like your station, I mean stations like yours and City FM, had to get involved to save their lives. I mean, how irresponsible can a government be? Even when they were called upon to declare a national, state of emergency, they couldn't be bothered. In fact, West, the president goes there and he says, after all, you don't vote me, I shouldn't have been here.
No,
he didn't use those words.
Yeah, he
yes,
said, I am
but that
here
is the import
though.
of it. He didn't use the words I used, but that's the import of it. I shouldn't have been here. After all, you don't vote me.
That's not what he said.
I didn't say that's what he said, but that's the import of it. You cannot deny that is the import of it. I mean, yes, he could have said it in jest, but that's what he meant. So I'm saying that clearly, when you look at this belated allocation of 220 million, that you don't even know how it will be utilized, you cannot be celebrating it. It's like knowing what you deserve and getting less and told to applaud and jump and celebrate.
How much do you think should have been allocated?
It's not about how much. It's about even how soon.
Okay.
It's about even how soon.
Okay. So this is too late.
A little too late.
Okay.
And even apart from it being too late, we know this government. We know how they spend the COVID-19 money. We know how they spend the COVID-19 money. The Auditor General's report is there. I'm sure you have read it. We know how they allocated funds to projects and purchases that made no impact as far as COVID-19 was concerned. And so when they, as usual, make an allocation like this, it is not time to jump and applaud and celebrate. Because you know how they deal with such funds that are allocated for disasters. We have seen them manage such funds.
All right, let's go to lawyer Kwame Jantua. Sir,
now,
what are your thoughts, first of all, on the budget itself?
good morning. Just let me make a quick correction to something Suhini said. The Akosombo Dam spillage was not a man-made disaster. It could have compromised the dam. It was rainfall in the reservoir of the dam, and it could have compromised it if those gates weren't opened. Yes? Maybe the management of it was a challenge, but we could have lost that dam, and that would have been a much serious situation for the country as a whole. One thing I haven't heard...
I don't disagree with that, Mr. Gentile, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but the point I made is that it's a man-made disaster because we could have managed it better. And that's what you are also saying, that we could have still done the spilling, but we could have done it in a way that the impact that we are seeing would have been less.
Okay, I'm going to ask you not to interrupt again.
Sorry, thank you.
No, when you said man-made, it made it sound as if it was something that was intentionally done. But if there was no heavy rainfall in the tributaries that flow into the dam and the rain that fell directly into the dam, we wouldn't have had what we had. Yes, maybe it could have been managed better. Now, so far as I'm concerned where the budget is concerned, You know, at the present moment, we have lieutenants in both the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana, being World Bank representatives there. By all means, they would take a look at what the finance minister was going to say with regards to the budget. They are the ones giving us the money to prop the economy up. When the finance minister indicates that we have turned the corner from 54.1% to 35%, inflation is still high. Inflation is still affecting businesses. Inflation is still affecting people's pocket. How do you turn the corner with that rate of inflation? And I found it a bit condescending for him to continuously say, we have turned the corner. Because,
8 times.
Because we haven't turned the corner. If Ghanaians begin to feel it in their pockets, that, then we probably can say. But if government sees a reduction, a small reduction in inflation, in double figures, we turn the corner, then we have a challenge to face. On the sanitary towels, I was part of the team that went to the Ministry of Finance for input into the budget. And through the AGI, we indicated that take all taxes off.
Not just VAT.
Not just VAT. Sanitary towels are a necessity for our women. It's a necessity. They can't do without it. It creates challenges for young children who have now gotten to the age of menstruation going to school. So take everything off. And in so doing, make sure that we are able to create the kind of added value in terms of manufacturing our own. And even if you have to put a tax on imported ones, do it, because after a while, it would build up and we would have quite a sizable quantum of production of sanitary towels. So I was surprised when I saw still taxes on the sanitary towels. Electronic vehicle exemption. Now let me tell you something today. If it so happens that Ghana moves heavily into electronic cars, do you think the grid will be able to take it? Do you think the grid we have today will be able to take it? So what are the plans? Before you bring these taxes, yes, it is good to make people say that we are trying to look at the environment, to look at the green fuel and all that types of things. But what have you put in place in order to get the process moving? What is the plan for electronic vehicles? If we're going to start with public transport, what is the plan towards it? How have you been able to educate the people with regards to electronic vehicles? So you put a tax, you exempt it from taxation. How many people are going to be able to afford it? Yes, we see few electronic vehicles.
Apparently, they're relatively cheaper.
But definitely it's going to go up. As the demand increases, it's going to go up. And as the demand increases, and there's pressure on electricity, government would have to see how best they can bridge the cost. And so maybe it's too early to look at, some of these things. Now,
so you don't think that was necessary?
I don't think it was necessary.
It was not enough?
Probably with this budget, I don't think it was necessary.
Okay.
Now, let's go to roads. Once upon a time, we heard that we are going to have concrete roads. It never came to fruition. But now, with roads, you can create employment, can't you? And let me tell you how you can do it. If government came with a policy and said, all side roads, not major roads, side roads in communities and all those roads are going to be turned into paving blocks, paving block roads. Aren't there people doing paving block business in this country? Aren't there cement producing companies in this country? Wouldn't people have work to do? And now, the reason why I say this, there's a good example near Pokwase, where in the area, the road was very bad. So the community got together and contributed money, and they've done a fantastic paving block road right from the beginning of the road to the end. And they've even been able to do speed humps with the paving blocks. When you drive on that paving block road, it's smooth. Can we not do it? Will it not create jobs? And the maintenance of it is taking one block out and fixing a new block in. That would have helped us. I had nothing like that in the budget. So when the finance minister does not even mention toll booths, we're looking for money, aren't we?
Yes.
Does not mention toll booths at all, where we can at least start creating some jobs and some monies. Nothing like that in the budget. So maybe the headmasters, the World Bank representatives looked at it and said there are certain things you can't put in. One of the things I was also looking at was the Fiscal Responsibility Act. I'm not sure whether you heard anything about it. The 5% cut in expenditure. I had absolutely nothing about it. That would have been a good place to make sure that we don't go back to 2020, where we just left it ajar. I heard nothing on the Fiscal Responsibility Act. You see, I'm not interested in the argy-bargy and who has done what. I'm interested in how do we all be able to sit and get this economy back to where it is. But when the finance minister comes and he doesn't give that allowance for people and others to sit together to see how we rectify the economy, it becomes challenging. Just a day after, did we not hear that some companies have been sent to the finance committee for exemptions? Correct me if I'm wrong, Suhini. No. Exemptions in this particular day and age, when we are trying to claw back, finances, we begin to give exemptions back to companies. No. So some of the things I do not understand, and maybe my good friend Dr. Mahama would be able to, explain some of these things. But in general, how do the people feel about this budget? When after the budget was read, when you see the reaction of people, they felt nothing in there to help the challenges that we are going through today, the ball of kenke challenges. Some people want to increase the cost of kenke. They know if they increase, the people won't buy. So what do? They minimize the size. But the price is now 5 cedis. Where did this start from? Ball of kenke. Kofi Brookman, how much is it? Even Gary, how much is an olonka of Gary? These nitty-gritty challenges is what the people wanted to hear. But we didn't see it. And everything seems
But those things cannot be captured in the budget, can they?
Oh, no, it's not a question of it being captured in the budget. It is what you do in terms of making sure that the things that we use to do that are, in a way, going to help cost come down. The cost of production in this country is still high. It is not competitive. Was that in the budget? I didn't see it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able, because of the funeral, I couldn't really sit and listen. But the after commentary, and even I heard the finance minister talk about it. Look, now there was one thing, and maybe both my panelists will be able to tell me. The one thing I've never understood is the capping. Have we not capped Get Fund? Have we not capped NHIS? Have we not capped the Stabilization Fund? What were these funds put together for? And if it so happened that we hadn't cut these funds, would it not do the job it's supposed to do? Stabilization Fund was put at a region of 500 billion. It's been cut. How does it support the budget? Get Fund is meant for education. Cut. How does it support education? NHIS for health. Cut. How does it support? If we had left these funds to grow, would it not help obliterate some of the challenges we're going through? And so some of these things I would have thought something could be done about. Going forward, 2025, the Heritage Fund is going to be made available to government. they are going to be able to spend 15%. That is the interest on the Heritage Fund. How are we going to handle that? It is something we should be talking about now. So generally,
What do you say to people who say that, you know what, one budget cannot prefer to solve all of the problems that Ghanaians are facing right now? So the minister in this budget introduced and in some cases extended some aid reliefs. For example, on agriculture, the import on machinery, medical consumables, raw materials for the pharmaceutical industry, for instance. It's a good relief for that industry, for agric, medicine, and pharmaceutical. The importation of raw materials for sanitary pads is one very key thing that was mentioned. So even though this budget does not prefer solutions to all the problems that Ghanaians may have, do you think it has done absolutely nothing at all?
Could have done more. Could have done
Should
more.
have done more.
Could have done more. The finance minister talked about the 23% that has been given to labor workers. Did he tell us how we're going to get the money? My estimate is 3.7 billion overrun. How are we going to pay for that? Did he tell us?
Well,
These are some of, okay, you mentioned it, but tell us the how. It's the how we want to hear. How are we going to do X? How are we going to do Y? It's not just a question of mentioning. Tell us the how. Where are we going to find the money for the 23%?
so the budget was insufficient.
It was insufficient so far as I was concerned. We could have done better.
All right. Dr. Abdul Kabiru, you've heard your brothers.
Yeah, I've heard my brothers, and
Are you still in the state of victory?
yeah. So, but before I do that, there are some few preliminary comments I want to make. I wanted to make it at the introductory part. And because I've not made it, I've had some barrages of messages coming in. 2 days ago, the media general used the platform to pursue a rather unfortunate journalistic, if you like, activity. And that didn't go down well. But I don't know to what extent an apology has been extended to the people who are affected. If it hasn't been extended, I will urge that we do that, because we will need to have some decorum. We need to have some respect within the media space so that we can genuinely trust the media as the fourth arm of government and to facilitate national development. So I need to stress that the platform used for such purpose was rather unfortunate. And to that extent, we would expect that such a thing should never happen again. Of course.
What thing was that?
Of course, we can always allow for the politicians to throw, jabs at each other, but to have media descending into the arena, questioning people's faith, trying to tag people, is not the best we should preach. Of course, if my brother Suhina had put such a post, I would not have so much issues with it. But for a media person to do that, I would think that it's rather unfortunate.
Do you remember the Daily Guide cartoons those days?
Yes.
On the issue of the
See
budget,
how they redefine media every time.
on the issue of the budget, I don't know whether I should start with the issues that have been raised by my brothers, or I should just go to educating the Ghanaian people about this particular. But let me just use a minute or two to address some of the issue. I will pardon my senior brother, Mr. Jantua, on the fact that he did not get time to read the budget. He only listened to bits of that budget and the commentary.
Read the budget. I have it.
So if he read the budget, he will clearly see that the Fiscal Responsibility Act was mentioned in page 63 of the budget. Saying that government is submitting the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018 for amendment to revise and to give autonomy to the Fiscal Advisory Council, focusing on some of the loopholes of the fiscal responsibility. It is stated in page 63. Okay, he mentioned the fact that how do we cater for the wage bill? It is mentioned in the budget, because the budget specifically outlines revenue measures and what is expected. And when you budget for an increment in wage bill, you have to budget for it in the revenue side. So you cannot ask the question, how are we going to cater for wage bill? When you go to the budget, the budget tells you revenue, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, and whether or not that matches with the expenditure. So that was another one. He mentioned about the necessity of electrical vehicles. I think that You see, when you downplay the role of the Energy Commission and the work this Energy Commission is doing, you would make such comment. But a lot of work has been done, and you rightly pointed. EVs are more or less fuel efficient, or even they are environmental effective or efficient than our fossil fuel powered vehicles. 2, the cost of purchase is lower. 3, we are looking at commercial vehicle. In other words, the expectation is that when you are able to power commercial vehicle running the economy with e-vehicle, cost of transportation is going to come down. That is a respite for the Ghanaian people. Aside that, we have had to have exemption not helping. By my brother, Mr. Suhin, said the exemptions are not helping. When they are already enjoying this exemption, and yet it is not helping them. But in the first, what is the intent of those exemptions? Some of those exemptions were instituted by the was to address a problem. And the problem was that, 1, these people were complaining that the imposition of VAT on African print is making us is not making us competitive. To make us competitive, put exemptions on that. Government extended this exemption for 2 years, and people are saying it's not helping. But look, what is the counterfactual? What would have happened but for that imposition, for that exemption? We need to put that into the back. On the issue of the Vice President not attending, the budget, and whether it's a vote of no confidence in the budget, and as well as the Vice President has no faith in the budget, and chairman so I think he was being sarcastic, because this is not the first time the Vice President is not attending such a program. Okay, there have been occasions. He's missed other ones. So there have been occasions, So
but why wasn't he there this time? Do you know?
The last year, the Vice President was not at the budget presentation. Yes.
When the economy started going
2020 he was not. But you see, there's always first time.
2020 he wasn't.
So now, if the Vice President should stop going, you
when the economy started going down.
Can I make my point?
Okay, sorry. Go on.
when the Vice President decides not to do something, we assign reasons. When he does it, we assign reasons. Okay, there are roles assigned to the Vice President. When he's busy at the office and the President assigns him to do certain things, which is conflicting at the same time that the budget is supposed to be presented, he will have to choose the role of the President. So we need to make that clear. But on the issue of the budget, look, Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo government has led this country for the past 7 years.
Yes.
Of these 7 years, we've had the most difficult economic situation in 2 years, 2020, 2022. Of these 2 years, cost of living was increasing. Exchange rate was in crisis. We have our debt situation be in shambles. Okay, we were having debt unsustainability. 3, our growth was nearly 0, because we did 0.5% of GDP growth in 2015. This was the crux of the matter. And this situation was acknowledged by the finance minister, acknowledged by the government as a difficult situation for Ghanaians. Now, in the midst of this, let's not forget, government did not forget of the Ghanaian people. Government provided free water for people who were affected and could not, especially in the cities, and were not able to go out and work to fend for themselves.
But it's what we are
paying for. Government, at that particular period, let me make the point.
When you say free, it suggests that we are not paying for it.
When did you pay for it?
After.
Now. So there is, you see, even before you were paying, during the period you should have been paying, and after you should have been paying. So at that particular period that you were given respite, you cannot say it's nothing. Okay, so that's the point I'm making.
So we're not back paying for it.
You are not back paying for anything. You are not back paying for anything.
Really?
Then give me evidence that shows that you are back paying. You may see some increment on utility, utility water, prices, but that is because...
It's not as a result
No, that is because as part of the IMF program and the automaticity in the, utility mechanism, you are supposed to have adjustment every quarter. Okay, that is different from. That is totally different from.
It has nothing to do with.
It has nothing to
COVID
do. It has nothing
that
to
we
do.
got
It
at
has
the
nothing to do with that, and that point has to be made. Now, on the second issue of apart from water, government provided free electricity for lifeline consumers. This was something that we need to acknowledge. Aside that, government has spent to put over 5 million people on free senior high school, which these people thought it was not possible. That has to be acknowledged. Apart from that, government has expanded LEAP and making timely payment with no arrears on LEAP payment. That has to be acknowledged. Aside that, these people said national health insurance. When we brought it, they nearly collapsed it. But national health insurance is now working with over 16 million people enjoying from it. That has to be acknowledged. Even in the midst of this, Ghana card, they couldn't issue. but this government issued Ghana card, and over 17 million people are now holding their Ghana card, with the plan in this particular budget to enroll it out for every Ghanaian to be covered. There are a list of things government has done, okay? And we need to acknowledge that. Even though we have to also acknowledge that times have been difficult and the past 2 years have been very difficult for government. So this is the point we need. So this government, having done that, realized that we need to take difficult measures. That's what the 2020 budget, especially 2021 budget, was the most difficult budget for the Ghanaian people. We acknowledge, because there were a lot of austere measures. Government had to cut down expenditure, and the result of this cut down in expenditure is a resultant, 2% less, the percentage of GDP less in expenses by the government. That is a fiscal construction. Okay, government is not spending. That is a positive point. Aside that, government has also narrowly missed the revenue budget by 3 percentage points. Okay, that is something positive. But this 2023 budget was named, or nicknamed what? I mean, the common phrase was that we have turned the corner, which I was on this particular budget, on this particular program, people question whether or not we are turning the corner. And I said, look, to measure or know whether or not government has turned the corner, you have to ask yourself, what was the macro physical situation of the country as at the time the budget was being presented? Inflation was around 54%. Now it's around 35%. Exchange rate had depreciated over 54%. Now, from February to date, only 4.2%. Year to date, 25%. Okay, our debt to GDP was over 100%. Now we are doing less than 70%. These are the figures that you need to look at and ask yourself, have these figures improved? And for me, we are not in this business of comparison. And if I am there, I'm going to produce the 2016 budget, which is similar to the budget this government has presented. The 2016 budget is similar to this budget because, one, it was also presented on the back of the extended credit facility. Yes, it was presented on the back of the extended credit facility that IMF also provided. It was presented at the time that they had done the first review of the program. Okay, so put that budget on one side and put this budget on one side. Look at the reliefs that are being provided in this budget, and look at the reliefs that are being provided in this budget. Look at the tax imposed in that particular budget, and look at the tax that have been imposed. You realize that the definition of this budget as a victory budget, it is not for the purpose of elections. It is to acknowledge the fact that things were hard. Government had promised that we are turning the corner, and the corner when turned, we'll see most of the indicators now moving towards the north from the south direction that they were going. And with that, we can be saying that there's victory for the Ghanaian people. Government will be willing and will be happy if we extend the 8-year mandate or be able to break the 8. Government will be very happy. But the focus of this budget, as in victory, means that most of the difficult period, we are now off, or we are now going off that particular period, because most of the indicators, in fact, reserves was nearly depleted. Gross reserve has increased on the back of Go for Oil program and Go for Reserve program. This has been acknowledged and mentioned in the budget. Okay, aside reserve, our trade surpluses, they did negative at this particular time. We are doing positive on trade surpluses. That is positive. Okay, so when you look at all these factors and you look at the indicators that were terrible, and now those indicators are better, even though that is not to hold brief for the fact that times are still difficult for the Ghanaian people. That's not to suggest that people are still suffering, or people are still trying to live with the inflation rate which is high of 35%. Mm-hmm. That is not an admission of the fact that that is better, or that is an ideal situation. But it's that when you are doing something like 54% or 50%, and you are able to bring it down to 30%, and you are hoping that any year it will come further, and in 2024, any year you come to 15%, and before 2028, within the medium term, you will do the inflation band or target of 8% plus or minus 1%. I mean, 1%. You would be, but to commend the finance minister for such a bold, such a fantastic budget presentation. No, this budget, apart from this, provided the reliefs. You've mentioned them. I don't want to belabor them, but you go to social protection. The 2024 budget has expanded and increased LEAP coverage to 250 households. Apart from this coverage, it has also increased the amount paid. This budget has increased payment to national health insurance, which was near collapse, by 40%. Okay. Okay, that is social relief. This budget has prioritized the payment of arrears, and over 11 billion arrears is going to be paid, and this is going to put money in the pockets of contractors. This is something important in this budget people are not seeing. This budget, aside that, is prioritizing agriculture, and apart from that explicit statement of agriculture as a growth priority, government has also provided incentive to ensure that that priority is achieved, which you mentioned about, duty exemption on machinery, equipment, and inputs into the agriculture sector. Okay, aside from agriculture, tourism and the Gen Z jobs requirement, especially in the IT sector, have been provided under the growth pillars. But more importantly, this budget is going to continue with the implementation of the IMF program. And what the IMF program is anchored on is the post-COVID program for economic recovery, post-COVID-19 program for economic recovery. Now, he's saying of our headmaster somewhere holding the hand in the preparation of the budget. And again, I refer to 2016. The budget was homegrown policy. It was based on the homegrown policy that was determined by the people of Ghana, the finance minister, because a homegrown policy was determined by the people of Ghana and presented to the IMF and accepted by the IMF as the basis for the 3 years extended credit facility program. That same process led to the PCPEC. Now, the PCPEC is not seen as the blueprint of the Ghanaian people. That one is seen as some headmaster somewhere whipping people, or to kowtow to their whims and caprices. That is not a good characterization of the government program. That is not a fair assessment of the government program, because it cannot be right in one regard and wrong in another regard. There must be some parity of reasoning in this regard. So PCPEC has got some anchors: macroeconomic stability, protecting the vulnerable, ensuring that we have their sustainability, in having inclusive growth. These are the anchors of this PCPEC program. Okay, so for me, this 2024 budget present an opportunity for the Ghanaian people to go out of the economic doldrums that we had faced in the past 2 years. It presents an opportunity for the Ghanaian people to have some respite. It provides opportunity for contractors to have their monies being paid for money. People talk about roads not being constructed, but I ask why will over 11 billion of arrears, 70% of it is on road contractors, be accumulated when there were no roads awarded, contracts awarded? One cannot phantom such a reasoning, because one breath, government has arrears contractors to pay.
You promised us concrete roads.
Government promised roads, and as part of the initiative of government, and to ensure that the longevity of our roads are extended, and to ensure that we have roads not being the problem with us, the government also initiated a concept of building concrete roads, some of which have started even in Tema. Okay? So
which part of Tema?
Which part of Tema? The vice president went and commissioned. That was where, when the vice president went and commissioned, that was where he mentioned that statement. So if you listen to the vice president's statement, when did he make that statement? You are always referring to it. You always refer to the vice president's statement that they are going to build concrete roads. Mm-hmm. You can remember that clearly, but you can't remember where he said that statement.
No, you tell
us. You see, I'm telling you that he mentioned it in Tema. When he was cutting saw for the construction of that road, and that road has been constructed. Right. Okay.
Which part of Tema?
I can't give you the detail, but I'm telling you that your production can check, and I'm telling you where he made it, and you are not even able to tell me where he made that statement. So that is the fact. I'll be the first person to tell you a matter of fact. If I'm not able to state that I'll tell you I don't know the specific place, but I know for sure that the vice president made it at Tema. I know for sure that it was made on the short carton for a road project that was supposed to be concrete. Okay, so we cannot choose what we want and don't take the statement of the vice president in his totality. You would be right if you say that, look, the vice president promised concrete roads. How many roads did he promise? If there were 100 kilometers of roads of concrete, and at the end of the day, maybe 1% of it is done, you have reason to question that. Okay, but the intention was clear. The initiative was clear, and the government had even the Accra-Tema motorway, which was constructed by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, okay, on the back of that, concrete road initiative. The extension, the dualization is prepared around that concept, okay? So we cannot take statements of, the vice president in bits, and you don't put them in context. Aside this, look, I have to mention this point forcefully, and it's been lingering for some time now. And I need to put that in context. I've mentioned about social protection, government capitation grant, school feeding, health. But again, one important thing we need to note is that this budget has been able to control the spikes in the living standards of people.
It has.
It has.
How?
Simple indicator, 35, 54%, or over 50% to 34%. Has it not?
Okay.
A 20% reduction.
When we listen to you talk about the budgets like this, it sounds very nice and all glorious about the wonderful things that the government is planning to do based on the budget that was presented. But let's bring it home. For the ordinary Ghanaian watching you right now, who's buying kinky at 5 Ghana cedis, buying porridge at 3 Ghana cedis, which used to be 50 pesos, how are they expected to accept and believe that this budget and all of the numbers that you're mentioning this morning actually brings them relief and respite? Because on the reality on the ground is that people cannot afford to feed their children. People are eating once a day. How does this budget and the glory and the victory, I beg your pardon, that it presents solve that problem?
Good.
And I would like you to answer this question in very plain words.
I'll answer in very plain words.
Without the numbers.
One, this budget has increased the salaries of workers by 23% first half and 25% in the second half.
Where is that money coming from?
Exactly.
That money, I have stated that money is coming from the outline revenue measures stated in the budget. Okay?
Outline revenue measures.
Yes. I can list all of them for you. I can list, if you indulge me, I can list all the revenue measures for you. Review of stamp duties is one. Review of the...
When you say review, you mean review upwards?
So now, let me give you an example. We are dealing with communication service tax as an example of the measures in the budget.
Okay.
Of that policy, it was intended to cover all entities that are involved in the communication, and they have been outlined in that particular law. Okay, in the CST Law Act. Now, only 14 of these entities were covered in the implementation. So the second phase of that implementation will bring more people, will bring more entities into it. And bringing more entities into it means that revenue is going to increase. This is simple. We don't need any technical explanation of the fact that when I have only 2 people in the tax net, and that tax net is going to be widened to include 100 or 50 people, more revenue is going to come in. That is one example. Okay? I will also refer to the what do you call it, the Income Tax Act amended, which had included, which did not include some of the betting companies, for instance. When it was implemented, people raised issue about betting, taxing betting. But a lot of entities are still not captured under that, which are also still involved in gaming and betting. When you broaden that, that is going to bring more revenue. And the government has contemplated that in that budget.
Why aren't you investing in tax compliance instead?
That is part, tax compliance. Look, when you look at the 2024 budget, look, it is more on compliance and enforcement. Because the law says you have to pay. And the person is not paying. So I'm bringing the person to pay. Isn't that compliance?
Yes.
That is compliance.
Yes, but we know that in Ghana, our tax regime focuses on the formal sector more than the informal sector. And we also know that the informal sector is a major driving part of our economy. Are there considerations?
That is in the budget.
Which part of the budget?
The budget says that the income tax law is to be amended to bring in informal sector. It has been, in fact, it was the second of the measures.
How?
Okay, how? Because of the simplified taxing. Look, they are going to reduce. I don't want, look, because of the information I am privy to, and because of the sensitive nature of this information, sometimes I'm hesitant throwing some of this because
they
have
it's not public information.
Look, implementation of a program is left solely in the habit of the Minister of Finance and the technical officers therein. Okay, that is their role.
But it's public.
It's supposed to be public information. I'll address your concern.
I'll address your
issue. One of the things that is to be done is that when we want to reduce the rate, okay, of course, there are minimum income people get. This minimum income is going to be exempted from this tax. Okay, and the ban is going to be reduced further.
By?
The details they will give you. I'm just giving you the framework. Okay, if I have details, they will give you. But I'm giving the framework, if you indulge me. The ban is going to, I've given the minimum. You could ask me, what's the minimum wage rate? Okay, you could ask me. All these are detailed questions people want to ask. But I'm telling you the framework. okay, when they do that and apply a lower rate, that ensures voluntary compliance. The budget has stated it. That will ensure voluntary compliance of the people in the informal sector. Because people may want to pay, people may want to do, but because of the rate of the tax, it's a disincentive for them.
Do we even know how many people are in the informal sector?
Of course, some survey have done. KPMG and other people may have been contracted by the government to do some of these surveys. So that information is there. Okay, that information is there. It's not something, of course, as to the totality of that informal economy, government cannot have with certainty all of them, because some people, you are operating in your room. How am I supposed to know? Okay, I cannot know what is happening in your bedroom. But with those that government is able to put their firm hand on the handle, government will tax them. Government will bring them into the tax bracket.
Okay, let me come back to Alasan and Lawyer. Okay, let me come to you. I'll come to you last. Okay. Yes, Lawyer Jantola.
So you should tell us, they've been in power for 7 years. How much of the informal sector have they been able to put in? How many? Doc talks about the paying of contractors. Do you know the delay of payment has cost them cost? Their interest rates in banks have gone up. Those who have imported materials in, the what do you call it? The depreciation of the cedi and exchange rate has affected them. So the amounts of money that they were supposed to get at the time they were supposed to pay him is not the same as today. And that is okay because you are paying them. Is that what the doc is trying to tell us? That you are paying them. When the ordinary businessman is suffering because of depreciation of the cedi. But let me ask him, the 54%, 54.1% inflation, who caused them? Who caused them? Were they not the ones in power? When they came in 2016, and we were still in an IMF, situation, why didn't they say to us, look, Ghanaians, this IMF situation is not helping us. Let's see how best we do not go into it again. And with the naked cedi, they were getting loans to cover that naked cedi. When it now exposed us, look at where we are. They cannot run away from the blame of where we stand today. And Doc shouldn't tell us that the budget, he's throwing technical figures around. As you rightly said, the ordinary man watching us, do they understand those technical figures? Break it down to the nitty-gritties. What is the exchange rate today? 12.1. It's going to rise. And look, the one reason why we'll probably be seeing some stability is, one, the fact that we have IMF money in place, and two, are we paying our bills?
Yes.
Three, our imports increased.
Yes.
These are some of the things that have held the economy down. If it so happens that today we start importing huge sums of goods into the country, we will see what would happen. What was the added value bit in the economy that the budget that the finance minister read? Look, there are certain parts of the economy which have quick returns. Quick returns.
Like which part?
The gold industry. I would have expected government to bring a policy out and to say, from today on, no company that is mining gold in this country can export bullion. We need to add value here, because you add value, you make more money. Two, we import a lot of sugar, don't we? Do you know how much we spend in importing sugar?
How much?
Billions of cedis, billions of dollars. Sugar alone. Remember, sugar, the Commander Sugar Factory, is it Commander?
Yes.
Yeah? Commander Sugar Factory was not built because of consumption of Ghanaians. It was built for the pharmaceutical industry, because they realized that within the pharmaceutical industry, sugar was an integral part. So it was built so that we can reduce sugar imports for the pharmaceutical industry. When they came, what have they done? Have they played politics with it?
What have they done?
They played politics with it. Is it working? Is Commander Sugar Factory, is it working?
Is it closed down?
Good. Is it working?
It's working.
Are we getting produce from it?
It's not working.
Are we getting produce from it? Where's the sugar cane coming from? Are we importing the sugar cane? What are they talking about? The things
Commander
that
is not a government. All right, that's okay.
It's not a, what is it?
No, you can continue. I'm not,
It's not a government thing. What is it?
Unless of what
Isn't
he
it
wants me
under
to
the
come.
Ministry of
He wants me to
Isn't it under the Ministry of Trade and Industry? Ministry of Trade and Industry is on its own. It's a ministry, a private ministry on its own. Come on. Let's be very realistic and stop throwing these technical figures around. Let's come down to the nitty-gritties of Ghanaians understanding what this budget gives to them. And if you walk the streets today, Ghanaians will tell us this budget doesn't give us anything because they are not feeling it in their pockets. What did the Vice President say about the exchange rate exposing you? And you think 12.1% is good? It should come to single figures. I can bet your bottom cedi, by the time this government leaves, inflation will still be in double figures. And it doesn't help industry. AGI have said time and time over. The government is leaving at the end of your period. When you finish your term.
And the budget says it's 15.
I said you finish your term.
Let's come to Alassane.
You know,
Alassane.
First of all, I find my brother Kabiru's attack on TV3 unacceptable and grossly unfair. I mean, we have been around for a while in the media, and this is not the first time that, media houses have engaged in cartoon, network. I mean, call it cartoon, whatever, to tell a story. In fact, one of the selling points of the Daily Guide in the past used to be how it cartooned people and told stories. Akosia. The Daily Graphic has cartooned people, politicians in this country, and done all manner of things. So TV3 did absolutely nothing wrong, especially if they raise a matter that the person involved himself has brought upon himself. I mean, he has met Muslim clerics, leaders, and told them that he was selected because partly he's a Muslim. And so they must support him to make history. Then he goes to the church on a pulpit, and then he says that we all believe that Jesus Christ is Savior. And I've heard some justification of that. And the question I ask them is, Christians believe that Jesus Christ is the Savior of mankind from the wrath of God and hellfire. That's what Christians believe. That he's the Savior of mankind from the wrath of God and hellfire. Is that what Baumia says we all believe as a Muslim? And look, I have said, be you. Respect other people's right to hold their faith and their beliefs and their principles. But don't imitate to contradict your faith. That is not preaching tolerance. That's opportunism. So TV3 did absolutely nothing wrong. And I think the attack on them by my brother this morning is just unfair. Now, he talked about, some of the revenue measures that are introduced in this budget. Perhaps what he is hiding or has not explained is that revenue will come from the already overburdened taxpayer. Because government, unless they do what they did in 2020 and 2021, where they got the Bank of Ghana to print money for them, will only make more revenue from the people who pay taxes. And he highlighted a few, but maybe he was not listening to himself. He talked about the communication service tax. And he says that the communication service tax is going to bring in more people. How does that solve the problem of those more people? Because those people you are bringing on board, their businesses are already struggling. So how is that relief to them that you are bringing them on board to now pay the communication service tax?
But that's tax compliance.
That's tax.
That's the point.
No. Tax compliance does not mean it is not the same as tax expansion. You see, if you expand the base, and bring in more people, that's not compliance. Compliance is when you get the people already paying to pay. That's
And
compliance.
people are not paying to pay. When they're supposed to pay, that's compliance.
But let me make the point. You see, government is aiming to raise about 11 billion more.
Yes, in taxes.
And that's even curious. Now, if it is true, you would have expected the expenditure of government to be around 135 billion for the end of year. Because you see, by their agreement with the IMF, they are to increase revenue by about 0.99% of GDP. And if you have an economy that is about 124 billion, and you do that calculation, it should come to about 135 or 134 billion. But this budget is projecting about 175 billion. You know why? Because they are making room for campaign expenditure. They know they cannot raise that amount through the expansions and the new taxes they have brought. They can't raise the tune of 175, but they need an appropriation that will show that. So, however and wherever they will get that money to spend during election year, it will be said that it is within the Appropriation Act. Now, they are aiming to raise about 654 million Ghana cedis in stamp duty. 654 million more from stamp duty. What it tells you is that stamp duty is going to increase. So if you were already struggling with payment of stamp duty, get ready to pay more. They are aiming to raise 584 million Ghana cedis from, taxes on gambling and revenue.
Just on the he's telling you the question you asked me, where you are going to get the revenue from. Mm-hmm. So
yes. But you see, where you are going to get the revenue from, is going to impose an additional hardship.
Of course, but that's compliant. Those people who are
It's
not
going
doing it.
to impose hardship on the people. You don't care. All you care about is to make your books look good and get the money. Now you are going to get 584 million from taxes and gambling. You are going taxes on gambling. Expansion of entities subject to communication service tax. That's what he said. Yeah. They are aiming to raise about 622 million Ghana cedis more from there. They are aiming to get 4.2 million from the removal of selected VAT exemptions. Now, all of this, I'm telling you, is going to come from the already burdened business owner or taxpayer. That's what it means. And that's the point that people need to understand. That this government inherited an economy that was on the way up, because clearly inflation and other rates were all on the way down. The GDP was projected to grow about 9%, but they said that it was incompetently managed and that they could do better. Today, they are handing over a bankrupt economy, and for the first time, our economy has been so poorly managed that we have had to undertake a debt exchange program. Not once, but we are going for a second one. And what it means is that we are losing our investments. Right. Never before has anyone lost money for buying treasury bills or government bonds. Today it's happening in this country as a result of this terrible economic management.
All right,
yet they want more.
I wish I could give you more time to finish all of the points that you've made in your book, which I can see from where I sit. But that's all time will allow us today.
I need to quickly mention something.
I gave you more time than everyone else.
I noticed.
I just want 30 seconds. The issue about the concrete rules.
I'll give you 1 minute.
Yeah, in 2020, the Vice President commissioned a 4-kilometer concrete route, the Ghana-China Friendship Route at Pong, in the Konkatamasi municipality.
How is that doing?
So, I mean,
in 2020.
In 2020.
3 years ago.
Have they started doing
it? That's a commission. Not even.
But if you commission a road in 2020,
and
you talk about
the truth about this concrete road.
What is not stop cutting? It's a road commission. So you get the difference right. You are a lawyer.
Go and look at the MPS deal
of a road is different from a road commission.
Go and look at the MPS deal. And as part of the MPS deal,
has been built.
One at a time. I'll give each person 1 minute.
Okay, so that is the point. So we are even asking where the Vice President mentioned it. This provides the explanation. But on the more important thing, they have the right of reply. They have raised some issues. And I think it's only fair and proper that that right is presented to me to reply. Unless, of course, it will go ad infinitum because you don't want it to end. I'll come back. Because they started, I addressed them, raised my point, they came with counter. So the right of reply naturally should be mine. Okay, so and unless, of course, that fairness is not going to be exercised.
Are you saying this after I have given you 1 minute?
I am not suggesting. I'm making the point clear because, as a matter of principle, this is not my first time, and this is not going to be my last time.
This is your first time meeting me.
This is not going to be my last time. And I want this principle to be set right.
And I've given you 1 minute to speak, but you are using that time.
No, I'm using that it is important to even use that. It's
an opportunity which has already been given you.
That time to set the principle right, so that subsequently this can be made right.
But you have the opportunity to.
So that's why I'm making this point clear to you that look. If they come, you have to give them the opportunity to come back again. On the issue of more important issue of tax compliance. Look, the fact that someone was not brought under the tax net and you are bringing him when the law contemplates that that person should be in the tax net would impose difficulty on that new person you are bringing. No doubt about that. But that is the essence of tax compliance. Even it is one of the qualities and characteristics and principle of taxation that tax should be fair, tax to be fair and equitable.
To impose hardship.
Okay, it's one of the characteristics. So at any time,
if you don't want to call it hardship, but burden.
At any time you are bringing someone who is not paying, it is in line with the principle of taxation. That tax
is in line with the principle
of taxation that it should be fair, it should be equitable, and it should ensure that all those who are supposed to pay are paid. Other than that, it will not make sense that Ashokwa is paying and I'm supposed to pay and I'm not paying. Okay, that is basically what the government is doing.
But
Stamp duties.
Why has it taken you 7 years to figure out that you can not expand the tax net, but bring in people who are not paying in your 7th year?
Because that is the expansion of the tax net.
Yes, because but why has it taken you 7 years to get here?
Look, it takes you time to build database.
7 years?
Yeah, it takes you time to build database.
And how much time will it take you to implement?
Look, it takes you time to build database. It takes you time for new businesses to even be set up when they were not even set up, but they are
if it's taking you 7 years to build your database, how many years will it take you to implement?
I am saying that it takes time to build database. Implementation of a policy can take 10 years, can take 5 years, can take 2 years, can take 1 week, depending on the planning and the horizon available to the government. So as to whether or not 7 years is taking so long time to do, someone would have asked, why didn't we do it in 2020? Those are genuine questions everyone will ask. But at each point in time, government has to take a decision, and that decision is going to be based on the available information government has. So on this issue of, I don't want to talk about Tobu because it's moot and mundane.
Why is it moot and mundane?
I don't want to talk about it.
Have you heard calls from the ex-toll booth workers talking about how miserable their lives are now because the toll booths have been collapsed, and the promises that were made them after the collapse of the toll booths have not been fulfilled?
So you see, on one breath, you people are saying that we need revenue. Tax people, bring toll booth, exert more pressure. On another breath,
nobody has said exert more pressure.
That's basically what you are saying. Because putting toll booth is a tax to the people and the people have to pay.
Yes,
on another breath,
at the time that you were cancelling the tolls, you made promises to the people, the people with disabilities who worked at the toll booths. Those promises have not been fulfilled. So to say that the question of toll booths is mundane
I'm not aware of that promise not being fulfilled.
We can play you a video.
That video was at a moment in time. Okay, you can go and ask them now. If you go and ask them
No, this is 3 days ago.
I'm saying that
about people who have committed suicide.
Can I make my point?
Because their source of livelihoods have been taken away from them.
Let me make this point. Those people would have issues to the extent that their livelihood was taken from them. And that was based on a planned revenue measure that when we introduce the e-levy, it's going to cater for that, as well as making sure that we are able to bring the disability being employed, especially. The e-levy is still there. Okay, people can argue, scrap e-levy and bring toll booth. But principles are principles. You cannot keep e-levy and still be pushing that I should bring the toll booth when I had promised the Ghanaian people that this e-levy is supposed to help me address some of the issues.
And the e-levy didn't work out the way you hoped that it will work.
Most revenue measures miss their target, and e-levy is one of them.
So it's not a problem?
I'm saying that e-levy, if it was a problem and that the yield, the cost of collection was more than the yield, government would have scrapped it because it doesn't make sense. Okay? So the fact that government is still keeping it tells you that
the e-levy is doing well.
It is efficient. It tells you that we may not be meeting the target, but it is helping our revenue measures. Otherwise, government will not make sense to keep something that is the cost of collection is more than the revenue.
No, we are not talking about economy in collection or cost of collection. We're talking about the targets which you set for the e-levy, yes, which you have not been able to meet.
And I'm saying that targets,
the removal of toll booths, yeah, which was actually giving people with disabilities a source of employment. They have since been home. Promises made them have not been met.
Nah.
And you are saying that mentioning toll booths will be mundane.
Nah, I'm saying that the issue of toll booth is mundane, and if government wants a revisit of such policy, will be honest and candid to come to Parliament. I know they will play politics with it. We told you to bring it. You are not bringing it. I mean, better late than never, but all the politics will be made. That is okay. Government is supposed to take those hard decisions. And I'm saying that these people who were employed in that, they have been engagement to the best of my knowledge. All the plans may not have been materialized. 2 years down the line, all of them, all those plans made for them, there may be some slippages. But the fact is that government planned for them. And to the best of my knowledge, that plan was being implemented by the Ministry of Finance together with the Department of Labor. Okay? So this is what I know. So the fact that some people somewhere are being interviewed, of course, not even all of them would have been employed. Not even all of them would have been, and some of them are actually private people being contracted. They did not have that relation with government directly. So all these factors need to be taken into consideration when you are raising the issues of some people not being employed. But the principle is that you cannot be asking that we bring toll booth to raise in more revenue and be saying that we should not review stamp duties and be saying that we should not review what do you call it, the sport betting to bring in those people who have been left off the hook when they are supposed to be paid. These principles must maintain and they must remain as such.
You know,
all right.
Give me a chance to.
I thought you said you'll give us a minute.
Well, I did say I'll give you 1 minute. I did say I'll give you 1 minute each.
Yes. You see,
and I said I will want a 30 seconds to reply.
It's like a drowning man. Have you seen a drowning man before? Even when you are extending help, they rather hit the help away because they don't recognize that help is being offered. Because I can't imagine why he was going on and on when he was asked to actually speak. But in fairness, I mean, your moderation, I saw what you were doing. You started with me. You went to.
No, I'm not questioning
you went to Mr. Gentua so that so that he could get the chance.
I'm not questioning.
He could now get the chance to listen to the two of us. Please, dog, listen to me, bro. He could get there. You gave him the opportunity to listen to us, and then you gave him more time so he could respond to us, and then also make the points that he had to make. And he still didn't appreciate that. I mean, but that's the problem with a drowning man. No matter the help line that is offered, it is not noticed. Now, you asked the question, how, or why it took them 7 years to begin to now, as he is suggesting, introduce more taxes, and ensure more compliance, roping in more people. It took them 7 years because they have been lying to themselves all these years. They lied to the people of Ghana that they were going to move the country from taxation to what? Production. Now, all that we are seeing, and if you listen to him, is taxation, taxation, taxation. That is all we are seeing.
7 tax reliefs.
That's what we are seeing. 7, name them. I've told you, many of them are exemptions you inherited. And then you only extend the exemptions. I'm saying that even with those exemptions, the people in those sectors are already suffering. And so that is not the lifeline that they are expecting from government now. They expect more. And that more can come from government prudent expenditure and rationalization of same. If government is able to cut down its expenditure, that is going to be revenue saved to them. They can then apply those cuts into the productive sectors that will help grow this economy. But hey, he also made the point about us not paying for the free water and the free electricity. He should go and read what Kojo Opon Nkrumah told us when COVID-19 tax was introduced. Do you know it's the only tax that we have been slapped with after having to endure a pandemic? It's the only tax. I mean, we had to deal with, Ghana has dealt with many, epidemics. We are still even dealing with malaria, but we don't have malaria tax. We had HIV/AIDS in those days. look at the campaigns and all that things, but no one slapped any tax. Now, COVID, we're told that when they were asked to give justification, the information minister told us that, the free water and the free electricity are enjoying, we have to pay for it. Now he says that we are not paying for it. Apart from this COVID-19 levy that we are paying, go and look at your water bills and your electricity bills today and see the astronomical increments that we are having to deal with. And on concrete roads, look, let us be sincere. You came into office, go look at the MPS deal in Tema. That is where the vice president went in 2017 to cut sod for the construction of the concrete roads around the Tema Harbour. It was a deal you inherited. And as part of that deal, the negotiation, ensured that the company in expanding the ports needed to do some concrete roads around the place. And then, in your nature, you saw a good thing, you appropriate and ran with it. And then, along the line, because it is not your idea, you have not really thought through it, you are unable to even implement it and carry it out.
So it's the only
idea. And yet you
Corporate
still, no, I'm not saying it, but I'm telling you how it started in this country. That was the first concrete road around the MPS Tema Harbour Road. I mean, done by government. Done by government. Yes, in recent times. Yes, in recent times, because the motorway and others were concrete. I understand that. But the point has to be made that, look, we are in this dire straits as a country because of the poor management of the economy, and in fact almost every sector of our lives by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo. And it is not surprising that because of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's attempt to repackage and rebrand, he will distance himself from this hopeless and uninspiring budget.
Lawyer Jantua, you have 1 minute.
Isn't Galamsey part and parcel of the challenges we are facing in the economy? Have they been able to do anything about it? The 1% water tax that everybody is now paying, is it 1% or is it 1 cedi? Have you forgotten?
I'm not sure.
And people paying because they haven't been able to handle Galamsey. And let me give you another area they could have looked at. Capital flight. Ghana, from 1970 to 2021, have lost $50 billion on two commodities alone, gold and cocoa. And it is rising. Capital flight. We could have curbed it. Do we hear anything about it? Do we hear anything about it? Even forget the other areas, the other commodities where there's capital flight. So, Dr. Muhammad talks about electronic vehicles. Our lithium find, where is it? Does that not link into electric vehicles? Where has it gone? How many Ghanaians are in there? Have we been able to say to Ghanaians, this is what we found, but we are holding on, go and make sure that you equip yourself so that you can be part and parcel of it? Where has it gone? It's gone somewhere else. At what cost to Ghanaians? And then they tell us that, we're giving you tax relief on electric cars. Have we put a framework together as to the impact of electricity with electric cars? Where is that framework? Where is the policy for people to see if X quantum of electric cars coming, this is what it's going to do to electric prices and the tariffs?
There. Go to the Energy Commission. This information is there.
Please.
The
energy is there. The finance minister, since it has implications to our finances, should be able to tell us. So, you have handled the economy for the last 7 years. And my verdict on that is that you could have done better. You talk about COVID. Did we not get $1 billion for COVID relief? Where did that money go? How did we handle that money? And so you come and sit here and then you use technicalities to try and bamboozle us. Nipa bottom in here.
Gentlemen, no. I can't believe you're actually asking me to give you more time. You've had the most time to speak. But gentlemen, thank you so much. I've been talking to Alassane Suini, lawyer Kwame Jantua, the birthday boy, and Dr. Abdul Kabiru. We'll have a birthday party today. Since we couldn't have one yesterday. So it will be virtual though. So send in your virtual cakes and champagne as we celebrate 66 years. May I say you're very good looking? Yeah. May I say that? Yeah. Well done. 66 years. Sorry?
The wife will not be offended.
No, she will not be offended. She will agree with me. Absolutely.